The year 1921. In Sweden, Albert Einstein is awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, and halfway around the world, Amelia Earhart completes her first flying lesson at Kenner Field in Long Beach. In March, Warren G. Harding is inaugurated as the 29th President of the United States, and on February 2, 1921, in a community founded only 6 years earlier in a small southeast corner of Missouri, Elizida May Cowsert Cardello was born to her parents, Richard Andrew Cowsert and Bertha Nation Cowsert. In 1923, at just about the same time Roy and Walt Disney founded the Disney Company in Los Angeles, the Cowsert family moved to California. And on that long train ride across the country, Elizida celebrated her second birthday. Her parents were farm workers, and the family, including her brother Ray and sisters Leora, Eleonora, and Dorothy, moved throughout California, with even a brief stay in Pixley. They finally settled in Santa Ana Gardens during the 1930s, in a home her parents lived in until they passed away, her father in 1953 and her mother in 1962. By the 40s, Elizida had purchased an empty lot at 16322 South Diamond Street in Santa Ana Gardens, just 1 block from her parents' home. The family owned a grocery store in Barber City, California, where Elizida met the love of her life, Charles Sereno Cardello, whose lifelong nickname was Honest Chuck, or affectionately, the Honest One. Charles's family owned several houses and apartments in Barber City, and they would live in one of these homes while building their own house on Diamond Street. Charles was continuing in his career with the John J. Foster Manufacturing Company in Costa Mesa. During World War II, Elizida began working in the lab for Cow Compact Foods, a global leader in producing capsicum and paprika ingredients. The two were married on May 1, 1948 in Yuma, Arizona, just months before incumbent President Truman defeats Dewey in the election. Their first son, Joseph Andrew Cardello, known as Jay, was born on February 20, 1949, and the young family moved into their new home on Diamond Street during the summer of 1950. The house was small, with only 1 bedroom, and the family continued to grow when, in 1952, Elzida's second child, son Charles Lester Cardello, nicknamed Chucky, was born at Santa Ana Community Hospital. Elzida left her job at Cow Compact Foods and took on the role of mother and homemaker. Over the years, she stayed in touch with her co-workers and kept busy with a series of hobbies and community service projects. 2 years later, daughter Mary Anna Cardello made her debut at the same hospital. Now, the 1-bedroom home really started to feel cramped, and Elzida and Charles would add on 2 bedrooms, one for Mary and one for the boys to share. Throughout the years, Elzida harbored a passion for designing homes from the ground up, like she first did with their house on Diamond Street. She designed 2 duplexes that were built on a parcel of land in 29 Palms, California. She oversaw the construction process and rented the place out for several years. She even designed and supervised the construction of a home in Hesperia, California, in which her daughter and her family later lived. She continued being active in her community, assisting as a board member of the Diamond Park Water Company that served her neighborhood. She would keep this role until the time her family moved to Clovis. It was around 1970 when both Charles and Elzida suffered severe injuries in a car accident and thus started their retirement. They began taking bus trips together, touring destinations like Las Vegas and Laughlin. On one such trip to Laughlin, Charles suffered a stroke and had to be flown to Las Vegas and then transferred to the VA hospital in Sepulveda. He did recover for the most part and was able to resume a normal lifestyle. They continued taking bus trips after they moved to Clovis in 1986, mostly to Reno and Lake Tahoe. Their extended family continued to grow, and they delighted in their roles as Grandma and Grandpa. The memories the grandkids have of playing in their yards in both Santa Ana and in Clovis are strong, and each has a special memory of their time at Grandma's that they cherish.
Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love.
things would change in the early 90s. Elizida experienced overwhelming tragedy when her beloved Charles passed away on May 28, 1992, during the night as a result of a heart attack. During the healing process of losing her husband, Elizida would suffer yet another tragedy just 2 years later, on April 1, 1994, when her son Chucky passed away as well. Still, her faith and spirit remained strong, and she continued to travel as long as she could. Elizida loved to walk, and she took strolls throughout her neighborhood several times a day. No matter the weather, rain, shine, heat, or fog, she could most likely be found out walking. A favorite stop on her walks was the local Target store, where she enjoyed having coffee with her friends. She became known as quite the fixture in the store and is still fondly remembered by Target staff. She would often walk with Adam and Andrew to the mall as well when they weren't in school. She was a proud grandma to 4 boys and 3 girls. She was a great-grandma to 18 and a great-great-grandma to 1. It was around the year 2000 when her memory began to fail her, and during her walk, she'd find herself confused and unable to get home. As these incidents became more frequent, her family was asked to not let her walk alone anymore. This was devastating news to the energetic and active woman who had always found joy in a brief morning walk. She went to UCSF for a diagnosis where it was discovered that she was in the mid-stages of dementia. As her condition worsened, her family had to make the difficult decision to place her in full-time supervised care. Thankfully, her condition was passive, and she remained mellow, never becoming a burden to her caregivers. As time progressed, her mental health continued to deteriorate, and she could no longer walk or care for herself. Her memory of people and events and her family faded, and she seldom recognized any family when they came to visit. Thus it was that on the evening of Saturday, July 20th, 2013, her heart gave in, and she passed away at 5:32 p.m. From her friends, to her children, to her grandchildren, to her great-grandchildren, and even to her great-great-grandchildren, we were all blessed to have had her as our loving, kind mother, grandmother, and friend. She will be dearly missed, but we understand that she now has a healthy soul and mind, and is spending eternity with her husband and son.